It looks like I have more to say about church hurt than I thought. Um, okay, so I'm going to start with my church hurt, when it started. It started when I was attending the church that I grew up in. And I was going through divorce. And I went to my pastor and needed support. I needed support. And I did not get that support. I was a longtime member, grew up in the church, um, paid tithe, worked in the Sunday school, was in the youth department. I mean, all of that. And my request is probably like many requests, maybe, of um, couples or women struggling in marriage. Can you talk to my husband? And the feeling I got was no, we don't really get involved in those kinds of things. That was my takeaway. So while I was hurt, I just continued with God. And the time came when I felt God saying, it's time to leave. It's time to leave. And I was okay with it, didn't know what was going on, but I was like, okay. And I remember that I went to the pastor and I said, I feel that God is calling me to a different church. I think it's very important when you leave a place that you leave decent and in order. And it's the way we're supposed to as Christians. Decent and in order. And so I met with the pastor and he gave me his blessing and I left. During that time, I made a commitment to God to read the Bible all the way through, to finish reading the Bible all the way through. And I did. And I think it took me about 6 months to read it, finish it all the way through. And during that time, I would watch different people on television who inspired me. And no matter where their lives are now, but they were inspirations for me when I was going through this change. And I said to God, I am not going back to church until I see the light of Christ in someone. Not happening. So I'm going about my merry business. And I go to the post office one day. And in the post office, I see this man that would do nameplates for the station. Have I told you all this story before? I don't know, but anyway, I'm telling you because I tell it a lot. So I see the man at the post office, and he said, "Oh, I need to make you a nameplate." And I said, "Okay." So he comes up to the station, he brings the nameplate, and he said, "Can I ask you a question?" I'm thinking to myself, anybody who asks me that, you better be careful for what might come next out of my mouth. So I said, yes. And he said, what church do you go to? I said, I do not go to church, and I'm not going to church until I see the light of Christ in someone's eyes. And then I kept staring at him just like this. And he's a white man, so he started to turn red. And then I asked him, Where do you go? And he said, Winnetka Heights Baptist Church. And I said, I'll be there on Wednesday. I said I'll be there on Wednesday because Wednesdays are, in my opinion, the more genuine, real people, praying people will be there on Wednesday nights. Then the Sunday, mask people. Mask. Yeah. So I went on Wednesday. And I took a friend with me. And I knew that if they accepted him, that they might be a good church, because I'm going to put people to the test. I want to say no matter who you are. But I don't know. I have to think about that one. But for some things, I am going to put you through a test. So I went. I liked it. And I ended up joining. But I was determined during that 6 months that I was out of church that I am going to have a real relationship with Christ. I prayed, Lord, I don't want to be one of those people who falls away from church because of what someone else did. I don't want to be like that. The relationship is with you, Christ. So that's what I'm going to work on. And that was my goal. I did not want a person, excuse me, who offended me, who's a Christian, who wasn't there to help me. And I'm going to hold that against God and say, well, God, I'm just not going to have anything to do with you. No. I need to think of some comparison, but I can't think of one right now. But that's crazy. I'm wondering if a child did something to you, burned your house, are you going to hold it against the parent, or are you going to hold it against the child? The child did the act. I don't know. Think about it. But like I was saying, I'm not holding that against God when his people failed me. God didn't fail. They failed. So I just wanted to talk to you about that church hurt. Never, ever, ever, no matter who hurts you in religion, never, ever hold that against God.